everybody. Welcome back to another installment of Three Old Friends. The music never ends. I guess I could say, welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. Finally, get to use that Emerson, Lake and Palmer reference, which, spoiler alert, you're going to hear a little bit of here later. But this time, we following up guitars with songs that feature pianos or keyboards or whatever. And so we thought this would be a good time to introduce that. So I thought I would kick things off before we get into the playlist, like we kind of normally do. What did you all think about putting together this piano keyboard playlist?
I thought it was a great opportunity. There's so much that's on here, at least the ones that I put on, actually some that you guys put on, that I've wanted to use for a while and just haven't had an opportunity. And getting these guys, the keyboard and stuff, kind of good focus, I think is great.
Yeah, it's one of the better playlists. Like I think Mike was saying beforehand, before we were on that, it's a fun listen to. There's not a dud on here. Keyboards have been essential for rock and roll since the beginning, from Little Richard on. So keyboards have always been a big part, even if you were into the heavy synthesizers. That's a bad, no, they accentuate the music, and especially on all these songs, and how we use it and how we pick songs is kind of interesting on our view on keyboards. So
Yeah, piano is one of my favorite genres of music, and I always like whether it's rock or whether it's whatever it is, having that keyboard, having that piano in there, it just always for me adds a lot to it. So without much further ado, I'll kick it off. I started the playlist. I trying to think of there were several ways to go with this, and we kind of have gotten in a pretty good groove where if one person plays something, then kind of morphs into that. But I thought I'd start with the Essential Piano Man with Billy Joel. I know it's a little bit cliche that way, but he's got the song called Piano Man, and so from there it was like, which version do I use? Do I just use the regular one, the first one that was recorded? But then as I was researching, which we've talked about a lot, it gives us an opportunity to look at it for other songs, and I came across his live at Madison Square Garden recording of Piano Man. And the thing with this song and what makes it so great is, yes, he's a great piano player. He can play just about anything. But this song, Piano Man, when he plays it live, the crowd just starts to sing. And there were several live versions that I had hit on, and almost all of them, they have the crowd participation or crowd singing in the background, and then he'll mute the mic a little bit, or he'll stop singing and let the crowd take over from there. And that's kind of what I liked about this particular recording was the crowd was pretty good. When they raise the volume of the crowd and have them singing. Sometimes it's good, sometimes it's not. And I thought this was one of the better recordings of that type of thing. So again, kicked it off with Piano Man, and it's one of my favorite songs. Love the lyrics, love the song, love the harmonica in it, all of that.
Yeah, I've been to a couple of piano bars, and I don't mean like some jazz club, but like where there's somebody and they'll make jokes and they'll try to draw you in and embarrass you and stuff. But both times the guy played Piano Man, and both times the crowd did that. Everybody knows this song so well, and it really is. It's one of those songs that, like, at least at a certain age, at least, I dare you to find somebody who doesn't know this song. It is such, a beloved song. Played a lot, but that's okay. There's a reason for it. And I like that his music in general. That piano is so much a part of it. That I think it wouldn't be. I wouldn't like his music nearly as much if that wasn't part of it. And he's done what album? He did an album with. He already did a tour with Elton John. They
sure.
both kind of did dueling pianos, whatever. There's nothing else I can really add. He's a great piano player, songwriter, performer.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad you brought up the Elton John Billy Joel thing because when I was looking for songs about keyboardists, I was hoping that they would. I have several bootlegs of those shows. I mean, those shows are incredibly well done. You know, both of those going at it. And so when I was looking up, but you can't find anything, but unless you have some boots out there, but nothing on Apple. But so back to Billy Joel. Of course, this is the song. You know, name 5 songs that you can sing along with that other you can always sing along with, and this is one of them. And you know, Dave, you say may say it's a cliche, but of course, but it proves that it's true that this is. It's almost what other song could you really start this out with without maybe ELP doing Welcome to the Show, but yeah, Piano Man is a perfect, and like you said, everyone sings along to this song, So from there, I went with Tony Banks in Genesis. Fourth of the Fifth is probably Fourth of the Fifth. It's not probably no secret. I'm a Genesis fan, and this song, right from the beginning, it's written by Tony Banks. Right from the beginning, you get the keyboards. It's right there, and so. And the whole song is filled with fills like that. Obviously, you get some great Steve Hackett. You get some. It's one of what I consider perfect Genesis songs because you get all the elements, but in particular the keyboards. And you could pick a lot of Genesis songs describing with his keyboard work. So, but I know fourth or fifth.
Yeah, it's a great tune. I mean, I probably didn't remember it from back in the day. I can't remember if I had Selling England by the Pound or not, or back in the day or whatever. But if I did, I wasn't one. This wasn't one of the songs where I just went, "Oh yeah, I got to listen to that one." So bringing this back to my memory of, wow, what a great piano and keyboard song this really is. I mean, the beginning is just beautiful, and then as Genesis does, and as you know, I've said I like songs that are. It's a 9-minute long plus song, but it builds up and changes and has different parts to it. I mean, you get in the middle with the keyboards, and then later on at the end of the song, you get more of the piano again in there. And yeah, it was a great choice. Yeah, Tony Banks, he's amazing.
Yeah, this one almost made it on our previous playlist, Guitar Heroes. I strongly considered Steve Hackett, and there were 2, and I forget the other one, but this is one of them that he's often people point to as some of their favorite work by him, and he's still to this day. So he says he loves to play it. At least something I saw online. I don't know how Tony Banks feels about his stuff, but it's great. Yeah, it's just like it's got everything. It has he's playing. And this is thanks to studio. You don't have to play the song live always. He's playing the piano, and then he's playing a Hammond organ. He's playing a Mellotron. If folks out in the audience don't know what that is, it's basically, I think maybe the Beatles were some of the first to use it. But they do tape loops, and you play it like a piano. It can do different, speed up the loop or whatever. So it could be strings, it could be whatever. Anyway, it has a very distinctive sound. I love this album. I had Cinema Show is on there too, which I really like. And a rare, I guess, with early Genesis, Phil Collins lead vocals on there. Maybe you guys can think of another one, but anyway. So I decided to keep going with the prog. So I did Knife Edge by Emerson, Lake and Palmer. And I'll say at the outset, this is maybe the only song in here that doesn't actually feature a regular piano. Lots of keyboards. I think there may be another Mellotron and organ, whatever. It's off their first album, which says a lot about them because the quality of this music on here. And same album had Lucky Man and some other stuff. But it's so I didn't know this till years later. I was like, wow, that is a great arrangement. Well, years later I learned, let me get the guy's name here. Okay, so there's a guy, Janacek. He's long gone now, but Czech composer. And the song is based on that. But then the other, my probably favorite part of the whole song, he goes into like this long, extended kind of keyboard thing. And one of it, I always thought that's my favorite is like, it sounds like Bach, right? It's just like, if you heard it, you know what I'm talking about. And so I looked it up today. It's like, it actually is taken from some Bach, but they, as a group, Emerson, Lake and Palmer, did a lot of classical music. I mean, straight on use it as influence in their music. And I was going to say something else and I'm blanking out. I'm sure it was important. Oh, yeah, okay. Keith Emerson, the keyboardist. I would skip this, but I've got to tell this. I never saw Emerson, Lake and Palmer, but I did get to see Emerson, Lake and Powell, or Cozy Powell instead of Carl Palmer. And they even did a record. Well, so I guess this is a famous thing for Emerson. He would wear a robe a lot of times. He had a dagger on this one song, a dagger stuck down in his, and he did this song, and he like got into a fight with he had one of those stand-up organs, He got into a fight with it. He's stabbing it. It gets on top of him. He does a solo. He fights it anyway. Yeah, one of the more memorable moments I've seen in a concert. I'm just trying to imagine him doing that every night on a tour for several tours.
Yeah, he's one of the probably one of the top three prog keyboardists of all time, and one of the best. And it was a good fit right after Tony Banks. And I wish I would have seen Emerson Lake and Palmer. His antics were, he'd like flip the whole thing over his head. He would, do all so crazy things. But yeah, in this song, Emerson Lake and Palmer always, as much as they had the classical training, which of course enhanced their music even more, was that harder edge they always put to their music. They had these beautiful songs, but at the same time, they'd have these songs that were just, hard edged. And so I always like that variety about them. So yeah, it was a good choice. I enjoyed it. I don't just throw a question out there. Would you ever go? Who tours now with the holograms? Is that like the only living member, right? Lake, right? No, he's dead. So
Yeah, he's dead. Palmer, I guess, is Palmer still alive?
He's the
no,
only
he's
one.
dead.
Is Emerson still alive?
Greg Lake, they're all dead. I think all three dead now.
Yeah, well, someone tours, right? With the name. Maybe it is Lake. Anyway, I don't know if y'all would ever go see that or something like that. He does that, right? Hold on.
Maybe it is.
Yeah,
Greg.
I'm trying to.
I thought it was him. And then in the
Close
background,
the window I had for that song.
Yeah.
I thought Greg Lake passed away though. I thought it was just that Carl Palmer was the only one that.
Lake died.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Palmer was the only one that was left. I think.
Let's see who does this. Someone does something.
Well, it says no. Keith Emerson died in 2016.
No. Did he commit suicide or something? I think I read something
Yeah.
about it.
They have to and every tour. Yeah, it's Carl Palmer. Carl Palmer. Well, so why did he leave originally? I thought he died. But anyway, he left. Features a multimedia tribute to Keith Emerson and Greg Lake. This show blends live drumming with vintage footage of the late members. I don't know if I'd see that. And maybe, I guess if the price was right and it's kind of different. It's almost like the hologram thing, right?
Mhm.
Hey, I have an answer why Carl Palmer didn't join them when they reformed in '84. He had a contractual obligation with Asia. So he
Okay.
was busy playing with Asia. I think he could have done much better with Emerson, Lake and Palmer, but what are you gonna do?
Well, short term, probably he made a lot of money with Asia.
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, I'm sure they were more lucrative.
Right, long term, because now he's back on the ELP. I guess he gets the rights because he's the only one left. So anyway, just thought I'd throw that out there. But obviously, fantastic song.
Well, when it comes to Emerson, Lake and Palmer, I think I tended to lean towards their commercial stuff and their soft stuff and their melodic stuff, as opposed to their hard edge kind of stuff. I listened to it and whatnot, but I loved, Take a Pebble. I loved
That's
Lucky
on that album.
Man, Lucky
From the
Man,
beginning.
In the Beginning, and
From the beginning.
stuff like that was what drew me to it.
Oh, no, it's not.
Yeah, so I mean, I like that. In fact, some of the other stuff with Keith Emerson, I had on my list Show Me the Way to Go Home and the Maple Leaf Rag, and some of those kind of things that he did. But I'm glad you put something on for that. Back in that era, with Keith Emerson and Rick Wakeman and some of these others, they really had how can I say this? They had attitude, right? They thought the center of the universe was them. Forget about any other band member or anything. They felt like they were the thing. They had a lot of big egos as well. But yeah, he was brilliant. And this was a good representation of ELP for sure. From there, I had I thought about doing Yes, and I was going to maybe do something with that, Rick Wakeman, Roundabout, that kind of thing. But then decided to go with Low Sparks of High Hill Boys by Traffic. And I knew it was going to be maybe met with a little bit of resistance because it's 11 minutes or whatever. But after Jose put the Fifth of Firth on, and that was a long song, I thought, okay, well, this will be my one long one. I'll throw it on, with Steve Winwood. And I just love the piano in that. I love the whole song. The whole thing is great. Love the song, the lyrics, the singing, everything. But when it gets that piano playing and those solos that go with it, just puts me in such a great mood. I just love it. So anyway, what'd you think?
Yeah, this is one of those songs that I've back in the day when I used headphones. It would be I just sit there and kind of get in the zone listening to it, kind of like what I was talking about last week, whatever the Neil Young Crazy Horse song was, Down by the River. And now earbuds. So I'm trying to go into the modern age. But yeah, no, it's great. And he plays the piano. And I always heard that weird instrument and didn't know what that was. It is also a keyboard, a Hammond organ through a distortion kind of thing, which I think really makes the song. But I love Traffic. I always have. What was it, Freedom Rider? Or, is that the one? Or, no, Glad, or whatever the intro. There's like two that are paired together. That features that him on piano, and
Freedom Rider.
It's good. But you guys, look like you froze up there. Sorry. Maybe it's on my end. Anyway, yeah. And Steve Winwood, of course. Solo stuff. I got to see him one time. I think you said you saw him once, Jose.
I saw him once too.
Good. All the way through Back in the High Life. I love that album. Good choice. You don't like it? Arc of a Diver.
Because, and we'll look right into it, of course, Dave and I saw Steve Winwood at Bella. Bruce Hornsby opened for him. Bruce Hornsby comes out and just kills it. And he'll be on the list. He's actually my next choice. Spoiler alert. But he is amazing. I'm just like, this guy is the man. But I have high expectations for Steve Winwood. Again, I have this obsession with Traffic. I always love their music, and I always love Steve Winwood. I would tell the story. I had a choice between buying a double album or eating for the next week, and I chose the album. It's just sometimes what you do, because when you love, it was a Steve Winwood, like a chronological thing. Anyway, but then we saw him, and it was kind of he played mostly his new stuff, and Back in the High Life. And I've come around and I've heard him talk about that stuff where he kind of defends it a little, because it was really poppy, and it was really, really 80-ish. Let's just put it that way. He does, but when we saw him, he does that little interlude where he does do Low Sparks. He does like a little portion of it, but only a little portion. It's like, dude, just play the whole song. Why not just throw us a bone? He played that was the only thing I think he played from Traffic, and then at the end he does like "Give Me Some Lovin' and I'm a Man." So you're like, oh, that was not what I expected. So anyway, that's the whole. I got to see him with Traffic. Afterwards, they toured with the Dead in '94. They opened, so I got to see him twice, like 3 times actually, and each time it was fantastic. They played all their songs. Steve Winwood, it was him and Capaldi and a bunch of other musicians. But I've seen Capaldi and Mason together. I've seen variations of Traffic together. So anyway, it was a lot to see on the list. And like Dave, I was going to put it on, but I thought, I've already put on fourth and fifth. That's usually long song. I'll be chastised for playing a longer song. So I'm glad you did.
Well, I knew that both. I knew that you would like it. I knew Mike liked it too. So it was
Yeah.
one of those ones where I could get away with it because
No.
both of you really liked "Traffic" and that song in particular.
It's one of the most beautiful songs ever done. So anyway, that's huge bias on my part. So from there, speaking of Bruce Hornsby, I picked Spider Fingers by Bruce Hornsby. This song is about playing the piano and playing for people, and he got the nickname Spider Fingers when he was playing with the Grateful Dead. And believe me, he was. If you get any of those shows with his, they're just fantastic. I mean, I think he's been the best keyboardist they've ever had. You know, with all due respect to Brett Midland and Keith Gottschalk, for some reason, he just fit right in. Now, obviously, he wanted his own thing and didn't really want to be in the constraints of the Dead. But so I went with this song. He's fantastic. I've seen him in concert at least 3 times. I actually saw him. He played like 3 songs. I had to cover a Bill Clinton rally in Dayton, and he actually was the opener. He played 3 songs and came out, and you're like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm seeing Bruce Hornsby. So, yeah, I was a favorite, and this song shows off his dexterity. Just the way he can play is just amazing. So, yeah.
Yeah, with Bruce Hornsby and the Range at the time, I guess this isn't is this with the Range or by himself? I think it's just some solo stuff, but I had him on my short list. Mainly the first 2 albums that he put out that were very commercial and whatnot, but they had so many hit songs on it. That's the way it is, and Old Valley Road, and Mandolin Rain, and Every Little Kid. I mean, they just had so many songs to choose from. And when he first burst out on the scene, and he was playing those songs, those pop songs, and then he got to that part where he's doing the piano. It was unlike anything people had really heard a lot of, and so it was his own unique style that made that. And so I was going to put something on too. I wasn't familiar with Spider Fingers. Kind of reminded me though when we did the Grateful Dead set list, and we had Crazy Fingers. I was thinking a similar kind of thing because they had that. That's probably why they titled it that too, because of how the sounds and stuff he was making on this song. And great tune. Glad you put Bruce Hornsby on because he deserved to be on this list. He's amazing.
Yeah, I've never had the chance to see him. I do when I think of Bruce Hornsby. Funny enough, I think of you, Dave, because for whatever reason, I remember I think you had that record. I don't know if it made it on a playlist or not. But I never got one of his records, and just haven't. I guess he's not so much on the radar. I don't know if he's still doing music now or what's up, but just very distinctive piano player to the point when Don Henley put out The End of the Innocents. You listen to that and you can tell it's like if you know anything about Bruce Hornsby's music, that's Bruce Hornsby, at least on that song. I don't know if he played on. I didn't have that record. But yeah, no, just great, and I really like that he's showing off like why he got that nickname. Um, yeah, I never got to see it. I only got to see the Dead once, and that was with Brett Midland. But great stuff. I went because of that kind of spider finger playing. I decided to go with something kind of that boogie woogie kind of you know raucous stuff. I did Ray Charles "Mess Around," which is it may have been his first single. It was in the mid '50s, and he's just like on fire. You can hear him just pounding on the keyboards, and um, he was in his early days, especially. He was quite the ladies' man and scoundrel, and so I'm sure some of the stuff he's singing about in that song was maybe he didn't write it, but I'm sure he could have related to it. But I never got to see him either. That's one I really wish I had of. My dad saw him at some dinner theater, and he described it as like all the fast songs, which were more than half. It was like he was barely on that stool. He was like dancing on that stool, his feet on the ground, and So I've always liked his music, and particularly the stuff, piano is what he did. A lot of it gets overshadowed by some of the production, and you kind of know some of the songs that maybe aren't necessarily featuring piano. But I heard this song. If you've seen Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, there's a scene in there where Steve Martin's asleep. John Candy's driving the car right before they nearly have a fatal car crash, and that's on the radio, and he's kind of John Candy while he's driving, mimicking playing that. It's a funny scene. So
Yeah, not I do, but I have the issue with this one as I had the issue with the Prince song. Yeah, he's playing piano and it's subtle, but is it really showing off his piano? He doesn't. There's no big solo in that song. There's no big, thing like that. Now, am I taking anything away from Ray Charles? That's ridiculous. No, of course not. And it's a great song, but it's that style. But there's no flourish, of keyboards. Not that he couldn't do it. It's not in the song, but it's a prime example of how effective he really is with what he's playing. So,
I mean, I guess you could argue there are others on here as well that aren't necessarily featuring
of course,
solos.
of
And
course.
but no, it's a fair point. It's a fair
I
point.
was just gonna make that point as well, is that, we had a fair number of that where we were just, let's show the solos and all that kind of stuff. But that's not always what it's about. Sometimes it's about subtle piano playing or different things. And this is a good example of, at least, of, not just playing more modern stuff. I'm glad you put this one on. Because Ray Charles is a great pianist. We think of him as a great pianist. We didn't put Stevie Wonder on here, but he didn't make the list or whatever. But I wonder if, when he says doing the mess around, I wonder if it was like ended up being a dance or something too, like the job, like the, some kind of a dance or something that they did back then too, because he refers to doing the mess around, doing the mess around. But it's a cool song. I actually thought it was very catchy, to the point where every time it came up on the playlist, when I was listening to it, I'm like, yeah, this is cool. I like this. And it wasn't 8 minutes either. It was radio friendly, 2.5 or 3 minute long kind of song, right? Which kind of breaks things up a little bit between some of our longer songs. So it was a good choice, Mike.
Yeah, and let me just say, kudos to you for bringing someone the roots again. We forget the roots of rock and roll, and he's one of them.
Right.
Can't just
Should have could have had Jerry Lee Lewis or some,
right. I mean,
or something like that.
That's almost who I put there, actually. And it really was because of what was in the song immediately before it, even though it's a different style. But yeah, no, I was talking about a guy who like acrobatics at the piano.
Yeah, and Dave, I messing around. I think it's what it means.
Yeah, no, once I see the girl with the diamond ring,
Oh,
who knows how to shake that thing.
I think we all know what it means.
There might have been a dance, though,
Yeah, okay, I'll go with
It sounded like it could have been like the jive or the jitterbug or the
Twist,
around.
There's all sorts of dances.
Watusi.
So anyway, I had the next choice, and I wasn't going to wait too long for one of you guys to take an Elton John or something like that. So, I did have on my first couple circles was Billy Joel and Elton John. Obviously, we've played a lot of Elton John in our playlists over the years. We featured him as well, where we just played his music. And so, I didn't know what to do with that. I thought maybe some kind of live version would be cool. But then, as I was researching and listening to music, I came across this one and this is the beauty of what we do, because I had never heard this song before. I heard "Come Down in Time" because I had Tumbleweed Connection, and I knew some of the, knew the tune. But when I hit on this one and it said jazz version, I'm like, jazz version, what is that? So he redid this song as a jazz version, but the first part of the song is "Come Down in Time," and he's doing that part. And then he gets into a long, like 2 or 3 minute long, just jazz jam on the piano, which is so cool. And so I felt like I had to put this one on after I had heard it and said, wow, I never heard that song before played like that. I had to share it.
No, I'm glad you did, because I too had that album, and it's one of my favorites of his albums. and I knew that song well. And it is really different. I mean, just well, stripping off some of the stuff on the actual song part, but then you get. I remember it was playing, and I knew it was a longer song. First time I heard it, um, and it's like he gets to that last line, and I'm like, there's still half the song left. And he does. It's awesome how he goes into that jazz. I don't know like his later stuff as well. So maybe he's done more of that kind of thing, but earlier stuff, that jazz kind of styling to it, I don't recall him doing as much. And I think that's really cool. You can hear like his ability. Anybody who's seen, like you mentioned, seen these playlists, listening to these songs, know that we really respect his music, and this is a great example of why. And just the only thing I had, I like when, like, especially this sounds like a lot of it, it's just improvisation, and I like an improvisation where they sneak in a little bit of some other song or something, and it's like the only place I notice is like you got that na 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 na, that kind of thing. The kids will say he does that in there just for a moment. So anyway, great choice.
Yeah, it's a bit. I knew we'd get to John eventually. I think if you would have gone one more turn, someone else would have snatched it. You just can't go that long without it. And it's beautiful, like you said. The beauty of making these playlists is discovering these things. And what I really like about this song is too, and I think this is emblematic of a lot of these keyboards, is their ability to work with either the guitars or the other musicians, but especially with the guitars, how they interplay with each other, and how beautiful that is. That whole jazz sound, the guitar jazz sound. Not that this is about the guitar, but and then how Elton John comes in and accentuates the beauty of the guitar sound. It's a great song. It's just amazing, amazing music that I'm glad we get to discover for us and get to listen to, because how many times have we heard this the regulars, but then you get this version, you're like, oh yeah, it's like getting, I don't know, like 2 scoops of ice cream, so to speak, not just one. So anyway, speaking of guitarists who can play with piano players, I of course went with Paige McConnell. I went with Wingsuit. Now and it's off the December album. Now it initially came off the Fuego album. Where they actually debuted it on one of their Halloween shows. It was the whole album. Anyway, Wingsuit was one of those that was going to make the cut, wasn't going to make the cut, but it made it. But later on, I think this was a couple of 3 or 5 years ago, maybe it was during COVID, Trey, Anastasia, and Paige made an album of some of their songs, some that have been on albums, some that haven't, where they just, each of them played with together. And I decided to pick Wingsuit. Before you start, Dave, yes, you can win a major shooting par. I'm just throwing that out there. It's just one of the things that people all debate. But it's just one of those beautiful songs. Obviously, I'm biased because I love Paige and I love Fish, but they work so well together in this song. And it's funny because I always call this a Pink Floyd-ish song, and live it sounds more Pink Floyd because you get this kind of Dave Gilmour solo, but in this song it's more the piano that takes the lead, so that's why I chose it. Love it.
Yeah, I like this song. I like this song a lot. As I was looking for some Fish songs too, I was going to go being a surprise. Oh, look at this, Dave's playing a Fish song that has some piano in it. So I was researching and doing some of that. So I had it on my list. And I'm going to say the song. A song called "The Squirming Coil." That song? Yeah, and it's really cool. It's a great Fish song featuring.
I didn't use that song, but if you go live, but at the end of those songs, Page he always plays a solo at the end of them. That's how he usually ends the first set or the second set. He'll play a solo for like 2 minutes.
I read about that, and so then I looked at some live versions, and they were like too long, and I'm like, no,
that's why I didn't choose.
But the original song was like, it wasn't as long or whatever. But you're right, he always play that at the end of a set or whatever. But this song, Wingsuit, way cool. I mean, I love that what you said, just between Trey and Paige playing, he's amazing. I'm glad that you put him on this list because yeah, this song Wingsuit is one of my favorites on this playlist, and just really enjoyed it.
Yeah, me too. I was not familiar with this song. They didn't play it when we saw him, did they? Because yeah, but he played a extended solo or piano part, if I remember correctly.
I'm sure I'm one of those. I'd have to look at the playlist, but yeah.
Anyway, yeah, there's no reason I don't remember that other than I'm 60. But yeah, so yeah, it's great. I like it. There was part of it in there. The arrangement reminded me of some Crosby, Stills and Nash song. I can't really, I couldn't quite place which one it was. I think it might have been during the chorus. I don't know. I knew when I'd say that you guys would be like, really? But there is something. I just don't know what it is. So anyway, and looking forward to seeing Trey hopefully play at the Guitar Festival in a few months. For Jose, it's the summer of that. Maybe every summer is the summer.
Usually, I'm supposed to see him 8 times this year, so we shall see. It's my 30th year seeing. My first year I saw Fish was 96, so this is my 30th year. I know. That's insanity.
So, talking about cycles of these songs going around and worried that something will get taken, I had kind of, it didn't really fit. I wanted to get in some, oh my gosh, hang on. Okay, well, it's Life on Mars, and Rick Wakeman is who I'm trying to come up with the name. I'm again 60. So he's the pianist on Life on Mars, question mark, which is a David Bowie song, which I've loved for years. It's off of Hunky Dory, which is one of my favorite of his albums, and it nearly made it on some playlists we've had, at least on my part, maybe one or the other of you guys. But I had no idea that Wakeman played on this, and I know putting this on killed the chance for anybody to put a Yes song, and there's plenty of great stuff. You'd probably had to go for another 8 to 10 minute song or more. But I was surprised. Do you know what another song I had on my list that he played on? Because I didn't realize he kind of had this whole career as a session musician. Morning Has Broken by Cat Stevens.
Uh-huh.
I did not realize that was him. And it's like such a beautiful piano piece. You could almost have it without the vocals, but this song I like. It's so there's not much else I can add. I'm sure he was in Anderson, whatever, Wakeman, Bruford, and Howe, and all those other things. So.
Nate, sorry, I'm looking. Yeah, it's funny that you put it behind after Fish because Fish played this song at Red Rocks in '96. It was kind of a big deal back in the day. Anyway, that's just one of those little things. But yeah, Wakeman, I'm surprised we made it this far without Yes. And I think maybe y'all will concur, Dave will concur. When you're looking at Yes songs, it's hard. Again, it's hard to find something that isn't 10 minutes that doesn't, get him. Or if you get one of his like solo, like his Brahms thing. So, but you get the regular songs, and he's a part of it, of course. But again, he's in his confines, so to speak. So you get small flourishes of it, but nothing that really like first to feel. You just get the again. There's songs out there, but they're usually like "And You and I" or "Close to the Edge." You just get those parts. But yeah, so it was funny that you picked Life on Mars, and I'm glad you did because again, it shows off his versatility. The Wizard, right? So I said that when I was listening to this on the way up to Dallas and the song, and I said, "Hello, Rick Wakeman." He goes, "Oh, the Wizard." Even Sal knows who the Wizard is. So yeah.
Love me some Rick Wakeman. Probably could have put him on, like I said, our medieval or whatever kind of thing because he's done a lot of that. I also saw that he took classic Yes songs and just did the piano versions or whatever of like "And You and I" or whatever. Really beautiful arrangements
Yeah.
that he put together. I was thinking about putting something like that on there, but I'm glad you put it on there. Like I said, when you first hear it, you don't know when you hear David Bowie, you don't automatically think, "Hey, is that Rick Wakeman?" You have to kind of know what you're listening to, but yeah, it's a great piece. And then you get, on the bonuses, we get David Bowie's vocals and everything onto it as well. It's not just piano. So, which again, I think kind of breaks up the monotony a little bit of let's just have a piano thing with all kinds of piano. I was going to put on a George Winston song, but it was just piano, and it was beautiful arrangement. But then I'm like, okay, well, part of the piano, what makes it so great is that you can have vocals and other things that go with it. So, good choice. I'm glad you did that. From there, then that's what I was trying to think of. I'm trying to think of some rock anthems or some rock songs or some other ones that feature the piano, but you don't necessarily think of it and go, oh, that's just all piano. And there's a song by Bob Seger that I've always liked called "Roll Me Away," and it features that piano and that being out on the open road and the whole kind of thing with that. And so just always like that song. And again, it doesn't do piano solos or anything like that. It starts out with the piano and it's very prevalent in the song. But when he starts getting into the main part of the song or the chorus, you hear it in the background. You don't hear it like as ever present. Well, again, as we talk about these songs, I didn't know. I'm thinking, well, Bob Seger, well, does he play piano? Well, he's got other songs like "Against the Wind" and some these other songs. I'm like, so I actually had to go, who played piano on that song? Asked my co-pilot friend and came out with a guy named Roy Bittan. And I'm like, okay, I don't know who that is. Maybe you guys do, but I don't. And so I'm going to just look at my notes for a minute because he actually played with Bruce Springsteen in the E Street Band. And he's been with others as well. So things like Thunder Road, Jungle Land, The Promised Land. Some of these songs from Bruce Springsteen. And then he worked with Meatloaf and Jim Steinman on the Bat Out of Hell, Paradise by the Dashboard Light. Really featuring the piano in those songs. 2 Out of 3 Ain't Bad. He worked with Mark Knopfler and did an album with him as well, making movies. So he had a couple of tracks on that album. Then you mentioned David Bowie. He also did the keyboard stuff in Ashes to Ashes. Worked with Stevie Nicks on some songs. Peter Gabriel he's worked with. Patti Smythe, Don Henley, Air Supply, Bonnie Tyler, Total Eclipse of the Heart. You think about that beautiful piano that's in there, or Air Supply, Making Love Out of Nothing at All, that beautiful piano. That's Roy Bittan. And I'm like, who knew? It wasn't me. I didn't know that. So this guy has been around and has I guess in the industry is real well known for being not just a session piano player, but called upon by certain artists to say, I need you on this track. And this "Roll Me Away," I think, is a perfect example of what he brings and how and what his style is. And so anyway, I've always loved this song and didn't know that it was Roy Bittan.
I had no idea either, and that's going to come up again on another song here pretty soon. A similar situation. So I'm not the biggest Bob Seger fan, but this is like maybe my top favorite. Night Moves, okay, I get it, but I've just heard it too many times. But this is such a great story, It could, if we picked songs from other playlists, it could have gone on with Burma Shave and a few other road songs about relationships that don't quite work out or whatever. But there's nothing. I had no idea who the guy was. I love the piano work on this.
Yeah, Dave, going the extra mile. That's good. And we need that because how many session piano players or keyboardists are out there that we never heard of that are, are part of all the great songs that we listen to? I'm sure there's tons of guys that we've never heard. And you were right. Bob Seger was not on my list, but when you listen to the songs, yeah, the keyboards make a huge impact on those songs. You don't, Bob Seger, his voice, but yeah, accentuated by the keyboard. So really great choice. And thanks for enlightening us. That was really good. All those songs that we're just oblivious to, we all think we're so, musically knowledgeable. And I read two or three, and then of course, out of nowhere comes, this. So it's great. So, I don't know if a lot of people might think that they probably do because the Doors is keyboard driven, but of course they are because they didn't have a bass player because what they need a bass player when they had Ray Manzarek. So I went with Love Street, which is not one of their hits. Actually, I learned that it was like on the B side of their one of their singles on Waiting for the Sun. But I've always been a big Doors fan. I always think they're always really good, and I always loved this song. I think playlist back in the day. I just think that it's completely different. Ray Manzarek, we know from his solos in Light My Fire and all the other Touch Me. He's a force in that. And the reason why, sure, Jim Morrison gets all the attention for all his antics, but that was a great band with a lot of great musicians in it, and I think that's what really made them great. And this was just one of those songs that kind of accentuates Ray Manzarek as a keyboardist in the band that, he probably didn't get a lot of love, but he should.
Yeah, I thought about maybe playing some classic Doors stuff with that as well. You got Riders on the Storm and a lot of that kind of thing. But yeah, Ray Manzarek, he was awesome. And yeah, the only thing I'll say about this song is when I'm listening to it on the playlist here, and again, it's not a knock. It's a cool song, and I like it. It's not long either, whatever. But when you go from the Bob Seger to the Jackson Browne, it's like, okay,
Right.
it would have been cool if there was another type of song like that in between it. But it's okay because when I get to this playlist and I hear it, I'm like, okay, but Jackson Browne's coming up. Sorry, spoiler alert. Like, but it was the same kind of a thing. I don't know if it fit real well there, but hey, it's our playlist, so it fits there now. But anyway, that's the only thing I would say about that one is like, oh, okay, and yeah. Anyway, so I liked it anyway, even if I felt like it was misplaced.
Yeah, this is a prime example of the Doors wouldn't. You can say what you want about Jim Morrison. Obviously, he was this force of nature for the very short period of time he was alive, but the band wouldn't have been that band without Ray Manzarek. I mean, very distinctive sound. And if you've ever had a chance to see him interview, he's pretty funny. He has kind of a dark sense of humor, and he like tells it like it is about the way the band was. He also he did some solo stuff. He played. I put on a song before, a version of Soul Kitchen by X. He produced that album for them. I think he even played on that. And then I saw him act a little bit too. He was in some movies, but we say what?
I saw him in concert.
Oh, did you?
The guy that he had produced, and he was on keyboard. So I have a picture down here somewhere. I'll have to show it to y'all. But yeah, he still performing. He was up until that was like 28. I think it was so far along, 2009, something like that. So yeah.
So yeah, I guess he's no longer with us either. But great. Again, this is just a great example of what, without that keyboard on there, it wouldn't have been. Jim Morrison can jump around and scream and be drunk all he wants, and be this mysterious guy. But without that keyboards, I think that was the foundation of that group, honestly. But that's just my opinion. So as revealed a moment ago, my next choice was Fountain of Sorrow by Jackson Browne. So very similar to, this is what I was referring to a minute ago when you're talking about didn't know who the piano player was. I just assumed, I knew Jackson Browne played guitar, but I assumed he also played piano. And maybe he does, he doesn't play on this. It's a guy, what is his name? Jai Winding. No idea. But it's Fountain of Sorrow. It's a great song. I'll say a little bit more about it, but the lyrics, the one that really got me, first time I heard it was looking through some photographs I found in a drawer. I was taken by a photograph of you. There were one or two I know you would have liked a little more, but they didn't show your spirit quite as true. You were turning around to see who was behind you, and I took your childish laughter by surprise. This part I really like. And at the moment that my camera happened to find you, there was just a trace of sorrow in your eyes. It's just that always sticks with me. I heard this song back in the days before streaming and when I didn't own every album or CD. So I only had a couple of his records, and that album oriented rock. They would do these things where they play a few songs by an artist, and they played this one, and I remember those lyrics, and I remembered, and then it goes into that Fountain of Sorrow part that is just really moving, and I was like, oh, I love this song. This is great. I'll have to remember this. And then I didn't catch the whole when the DJ said what it was. He said he or she, I don't remember, referred to another song on there, which is For a Dancer or To a Dancer, For a Dancer, I think, or About it. Anyway, something with a dancer. And and so it's like later when I went to try to find this song, I did go buy a record. Or whatever, years later, I tried to find the song. I'm like, it's not that song. And I just happened upon this, a few years ago. So yeah, it's a beautiful piano work. We made it clear. I think we all love Jackson Browne's music. And this song supposedly is about he had a brief relationship with Joni Mitchell, who could have also made this playlist. But anyway, that's what I got.
Who didn't have a brief relationship with? Just kidding. I'm not throwing that out. No, Jackson Browne, like you said, he's the man. I love Jackson Browne. Obviously, Dave used to own a lot of albums, so we got our fair share. All of the early stuff too, but it still continues, and it's his voice, I think, that really draws you in. The piano playing, obviously, we focused on that, and a lot of his songs have that as well. But again, like Bob Seger, and I agree with you, Dave. It's one of the, I always wanted that rule of, can I just take your slot and put my song in there? Because I know it goes so much better than what happens. But yeah, and both of those guys are similar, without the keyboards, I don't think the song is the same. So yeah, I love Jackson Browne. He's just an amazing guy, and I love hearing his voice. I just, for some reason, it seems to sound so passionate. So anyway.
Well, I'm glad that Jackson Browne made the list. I'm sad though that because I had a couple of songs I was going to put on, maybe more of the ones that are more familiar, but I was going to do The Pretender, or I was going to do Loadout and Stay. Loadout's cool because it's like, talking about, his roadies and, hey, don't just, make sure you don't come until I'm ready. I'm still playing on the piano. Don't come for my piano till the end. And, that was always a cool kind of thing, and talks about his road crew and all that kind of thing. But I love this song. And it was a song where I got to admit that I don't remember it. And I'm sure I had Late for the Sky. I had that album, but I'm going to say something that kind of happens when all this. Now, I had 560, so almost 600 albums, right? And so when I would go, and I had probably 6 or 7 Jackson Browne albums or something like that. I'll just tell you though, when you're thinking like, oh, I think I want to listen to some Jackson Browne, or I want to listen to the Grateful Dead, I want to listen to Pickett, Elton John, right? You have so much to choose from there that a lot of times that 5th, 6th, 7th album just doesn't get played that much, right? Or maybe it had 1 or 2 good songs on it, but you don't want to play the whole album, right? So you end up picking, I'm going to go with Lives in the Balance, or I'm going to go with The Pretender, or I'm going to go with, and you pick a different Jackson Browne album. That's probably what happened with this. That Late for the Sky probably just sat and collected dust on myself, where I listened to it a few times, but I didn't it wasn't my go-to every time, right? So when you put on this song, Fountain of Sorrow, I'm like, this sounds new and fresh. I don't remember this one. So that's kind of the beauty of revisiting some of these older songs and whatnot. And so anyway, that's all I can say about that one. But then from there, again, I was doing the same thing. I'm not going to go with piano solos. I'm just going to look for some songs that I like piano on. And Neil Young is one of those ones where, yeah, he's a guitar player. We just did that on the guitar one. In fact, which artist made both the guitar playlist and the piano playlist? Okay, Neil Young did, and he is playing the piano on After the Gold Rush, right? At least I've seen him play the piano on that a lot. So it's just one of my favorite songs. I love the piano on it. It's very simplistic, stripped down, not a whole lot to it. But I will say that one of the reasons why I like the song After the Gold Rush is when you look at the liner notes and you pull out the album and you look at it, world-renowned French horn player, because you love that French horn in the song, is a guy named David Dukes. I know it has an S on it. But I always remembered that this French horn player was David Dukes. And I love the French horn in After the Gold Rush, so had to put it on.
I'm sure I read the liner notes at some point. The first two Neil Young albums I had, well, other than Decade, was this and Harvest. And I think I had them on a cassette at one point that it just one on one side, one on the other, and just played them over and over again. Yeah, this is a great song. And the French horn, of course, props to that. But yeah, Neil Young, I mean, I've gotten to see him 3 or 4 times. But one time, I know I've mentioned this, but it was just him on a stage, the Bass Concert Hall here at UT. And he was surrounded by, he had banjos and guitars and all these things, electric and acoustic. He had one of Hank Williams' old guitars. He had a grand piano. He had an organ, one of those pump organs. But it's like all these bootlegs I've heard of it. Well, just the released music. But so much of this stuff, it's piano is such a big part of it. And he's very talented. And yeah, a lot of it is, particularly with the piano, is maybe more understated than his guitar playing. But I'm glad you put this one on.
Yeah. He's one of the only two. I was trying to think, as you said that day, because I was trying to think of anyone else who could have made both lists. I think Steve Winwood probably could have made both lists. But the list is short when you think about guys who, you could probably throw Bob Dylan if you thought he's not known for his guitar work or anything, but he can do both. A lot of can do both. But to do both effectively, it's a very short list, I think. And so, yeah, Neil Young, After the Gold Rush, of course, making both lists. You could listen to him all day. And of course, let's not sidestep. The only reason when you're a kid and you listen to this, he talks about getting high. Okay. Every 12, 13, 14-year-old kid think that's the coolest thing in the world. It's just one of those lyrics that comes out of nowhere that you're like, yeah, that's right, man. Yeah, he's, it just is. You can't deny it. As much as you want to, oh yeah, that's part of what oh yeah. So doesn't detract from how really fantastic that song is. It's just a great song with great lyrics because, it's Neil Young. So, yeah, just a beautiful song. It's, probably, one of my top 5 favorite Neil Young songs. So, yeah, from there, because we kind of slaughtered the women, we had no guitarist women, they need to be represented. Plenty of women on the piano. I could easily gone with Carole King, Carly Simon, lots of them. There's tons. But because my little obsession with Lady Gaga continues. And so I went with I Always Remember Us This Way. It was in the movie A Star Is Born. And I just think it's such a beautiful, I didn't realize how popular it really was. It was nominated for a Grammy because, of course, I wasn't into that. But I do like her music. I love her songs. I love this song. It's just such a nice, great song. It's in the tradition of the Elton Johns of the world, the Carole Kings and those who opened the door. Just the piano and a woman singing her song, about love. That's been in rock and roll forever. So I thought I'd throw that in there. Give the women a little love as much as they deserve. So
I'm glad you did, and it's interesting. Yeah, I had several that I almost pulled the trigger on. Like you mentioned Carole King, and I had some others. Alicia Keys. I think I had a song that I was going to put on for her. There are a lot of great women who can play the piano and whatnot. So I'm glad that it made the list. This is a beautiful song. yeah, so I have no objection with it. I thought it was good. It kind of went real good after the Neil Young song as well with the piano, and um, yeah, she's got a great voice, and I guess yeah, this song was featured in the Stars Born remake. Bradley Cooper didn't have to sing, did he? I hope not, but
You sing on one song,
he sang on
at
one
least,
song. Okay.
at least one.
All right. Anyway, yeah, good choice.
Yeah, well, my hat's off to you again for, like you said, putting a female pianist, and she's just so talented. The other reason that I tip of the hat to you is just that, yeah, it's not what I would have thought when we first started these that Jose would put on, but it's like it's great because it's like opening my eyes to this stuff. And I had heard her stuff, and Rachel and Shannon, my wife and daughter, they listened to it, and I'm like, whatever. It would just kind of go by me. Then I went to see Star is Born, which I actually thought was a really good movie, and she brings it in that. And yes, the one song that I know of that he sings on, the Shallows or whatever. That one I heard more on the radio,
It
and
wasn't.
I think that was maybe nominated for something too, or maybe it won. I don't know, but this one I like a lot more. It's kind of the scene in the movie where she's kind of starting to, shine on her own.
Very
Um,
true. Yeah.
yeah, I will not directly related, but the first R-rated movie I saw was Stars Born in what '76 with Barbara Streisand and Chris Christopherson. Back when movie tickets were $1.25 for kids, my
Mhm.
buddy and he wanted to go see it. I'm like, I didn't want to go see it. I didn't get it, but he's like, well, let's go. And we went to the theater, and they just let these like, I'd have been 11. They just let us go in. There's some nudity and all kinds of stuff. But just okay, that's an aside. I think also somebody who could have made both lists, a female musician, Joni Mitchell.
I
Joni
like.
Mitchell she was on my list. I could have put her on here, and plays a lot of guitar. She's not like a lead guitar player, but a lot of her music that's on her on guitar. So anyway, keep the Lady Gaga coming. I'm sure there's more out there.
Yeah, it's like you said, like when I hear songs like Abracadabra or Poker, I'm like, I'm not into it. But then when you hear songs like this, you're like, oh, this is good. But yeah, some of those songs like Abracadabra,
Bad Romance and Poker Face,
Yes.
those
yeah,
songs.
take your face, and okay, I guess, but yeah. But then you hear this, you're like, oh, well, this is different. But yeah, it's not like I'm gonna run out, start singing Poker Face or Abracadabra or
Hey,
whatever.
you're taking those chances, and yeah, Bad Romance. That singularly is the reason why I steered away from her music. I'm sure I know people love it, and that's fine. It's what it is. But yeah. So, moving on, I went to my last song. I guess the last song on here, Dixie Chicken live off of Waiting for Columbus. It's Little Feat, and I wanted to find. Okay, so the piano. Of course, it's gonna freeze up on me. The piano player on this album or this song is a guy named Bill Payne, who is apparently is the only original member of the band still alive. And the thing, it's a live song. It's long. How long is this?
Is he
Eight
one of
eight fifty
is he
four.
one of these? Which one of the guys is he? I just took this picture. I don't know if it's a current one or whatever. This is Little Feat.
He's the one with the beard. They almost all have beards, right? The picture I see, he's got a beard. He has blonde hair, so who knows? Yeah, I don't know. Anyway, yeah. So I love Little Feat, and this album, Waiting for Columbus, is I would put it up against any, as far as my favorite live albums, up against any others. I mean, Live Rust or Four Way Street or whatever. I mean, I'm not just narrowing it down, but I love this album, and a lot of it is because of a lot of the improvisation. A lot of the songs run together, and like a lot of live albums, it isn't just one show. Is apparently recorded, not this song, but over like 10 concerts, but they get the cream of it. Anyway, this song, it has, if you're familiar with the song, there's the lyric part at the beginning, and then they go into this extended piano part, and it's everything from like Dixieland jazz, boogie woogie, kind of that bar and what I'm thinking, honky tonk kind of piano, just like it's all kinds of different things he fits in there. And I guess it's all improvised. I don't know, but um, I'll just be going on and on to say anymore. It's one of my favorite live pieces.
Yeah, it's really one of the 5, 10 best live albums. Of course, I know it a lot more because Fish covered it in one of their Halloween shows. So of course I'm quite familiar with it if you listen to that a lot. But actually, we own Dave and I got he won't remember it, but Dave and I got one of that album when we bought one of those big Apple boxes from one of those guys for like $5. It was in there, and so we had the album, but I think we played it a lot much. But I think I played it quite a bit. But it's my style of music, and I love that kind of music, and I just think it's a great album and a great choice for the keyboard. It's one of the best keyboard solos around. So yeah, just fantastic, fantastic song, fantastic group. They are still. This is like I guess the last great, the last tour. I guess they're doing their last real tour. I guess it's something called like that. So you got to go see them. You better go see them now.
Well, see, I have a chance to. They're playing. I'm going to the New Orleans Jazz and Heritage Festival, but they line up all the bands I like to see all at the same time, and I'm not going to see them. Just like Tedeschi Trucks, I'm going to get to at least see them or some iteration of them elsewhere. But yeah, I guess I'm assuming he's touring with them live. There were there because there was like a rejuvenated Little Feat that had newer guys, and maybe it's that. Otherwise, it's just him. I mean, whatever. The only original.
So I'll say that it was a great way to end the playlist because we had a lot of jams earlier on, and then we kind of got into that little rhythm with just some nice piano songs or whatever. So it's kind of good to bring us back and remind us of the the style and just the jam that it was. Wasn't really familiar with it, but it's a great jam. Enjoyed it on the playlist. I will have to say I have a question though. If we had to do away with the Dixie Chicks, how come this one hasn't been cancel cultured? Dixie Chicken. So it's okay with Dixie Chicks, but Dixie Chicken, we can refer to Dixie Chicken, or no, I don't know.
They are called only the Chicks now. So
The Chicks.
Right.
But what about this poor chicken that, song here?
Simply for the Dixie, even though I guess that should be canceled.
I don't know why. The term Dixie or anything that's
Well, it's
Can't say.
obviously what it symbolizes,
right.
but in this song, it's just it's not that. It's not like I don't know. I'm not going to think of a good example now. Something by Charlie Daniels, maybe, but
Dixie.
but in
Well, there's a
Dixieland,
grocery
you're going to
store.
give her the name of Dixieland Jazz. I mean,
Well, there's a grocery store, Winn Dixie. Is that no longer? I mean,
It's not the word Dixie, Dave. It's because they made disparaging remarks about the president.
okay.
No,
I thought it was because of the whole Confederate Dixie thing. Like you can't like can Elvis sing "I Wish I Was in the Land of Dixie," or is that no longer?
look away, look away.
I'm the Dixie you want now. You might get beat up if you start singing Dixie somewhere that you shouldn't be, but
I didn't know. I'm just asking. I'm trying to be self-aware and know these things, and I don't want to make a major faux pas in the wrong place, like on our podcast or anything. I just want to make sure.
feel free to go Dixie crazy. If
Okay.
We'll do a
Playlist on it or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought about that too, actually, funny enough. But yeah, then I answered myself, well, it's not about praising the South, in the Civil War was for whatever, the South will rise again, whatever. Yeah,
We'll stay-
also, go ahead.
It's
I'll
not.
say we'll
Yeah.
stay away. We'll just have a chicken playlist then.
Oh my God, dear God, man, we don't
Yeah, the
need
chicks,
D'Angelo
chicken.
Dixie anytime soon.
You know who did? Tom Petty had this album, which I really love. I think it's a great album called Southern Accents. And there's this, I think for a long time, they actually would have the Stars and Bars,
Right, yeah,
up
Leonard
behind the
Skinner did
stage.
it. Yeah, Leonard
And
Skinner used to do it.
there's that song Born a Rebel down in Dixie. And, it's a great album, but, it doesn't age well. And he quit. It's like one of those, the Stones will never do Brown Sugar again. And, well, we don't have Tom Petty with us anymore, but they quit playing that song. He kind of stepped away from it. And he said, but obvious, they're from the South. But anyway.
Yeah, it's insane. I'm glad that we're not canceling Dixie. Maybe we should. So,
Well, there's a band song. What is it? The Night They Drove Old Dixie Down. And it starts with, at least the live version, the horns playing a little bit of Dixie.
mhm.
Look away, look away. Anyway.
Well,
Yeah,
good.
so
Well, as we normally wrap up, is there any
Yeah.
noticeable or omissions? We talked about a few of them already. Any
Well,
ones you
I
wish
had,
you had?
I had Bernie Worrell. We didn't use him. That's kind of my personal preference. Deep Purple, John Lord, if you're into rock and roll. Don Airy with Rainbow, if y'all are into that kind of stuff. But yeah, nothing really. I think we hit most of them. But yeah, there's tons out there that, yeah, I'm sure we could think of.
there's some particular favorites, like Tom Waits. He's really piano oriented. Randy Newman, very distinctive
I thought
piano
for
sound.
sure you were going to do Randy Newman.
I got really close. But no. But one that I got even closer to putting on was Nicky Hopkins. And I don't know how much you guys know about him, but he played like with everybody.
Yeah.
He was on just as an example, the Beatles song Revolution, not the one on the album, but the more rocking one with the distorted guitar. He played piano on that. Only so many outsiders played with them. I could have also put on,
Well,
what's his name? Who played organ? Billy Preston.
we didn't have one. Yeah.
But just continue with Nicky Hopkins. He played on many famous songs, by the Stones. Give Me Shelter, Sympathy for the Devil, like Street Fighting. The Who, Jeff Beck, Joe Cocker, Art Garfunkel, George Harrison, Jefferson Airplane, The Kinks, and one that I actually almost put on, not realizing it was him, was Jealous Guy by John Lennon. I think it's off Imagine. Has a beautiful piano to it. And I always thought it was John Lennon. And nope, apparently they were like, blown away. John and Yoko were just blown away by that piano playing on there. So yeah, Nicky Hopkins would have probably been my biggest, if I had left something off, I probably would have put something on, including him.
Well, I was going to do like, when you had the Hammond organ there with ELP and stuff like that, I was going to do A Wider Shade of Pale by Procol Harum. Or whatever, because I like that keyboard in that song as well. And then I've played some Five for Fighting before, but there was a song called Superman I was going to put on, but it has that nice piano lick in it. And then the one I spared you all from, Jose, you may remember, you may not, but
I'll say
going back to the Garfield days,
it.
the piano player, and there's a song called Private Affair. That is just,
I don't know.
I spared you on that one. I was going to put that one on, but
After tonight, there's a new. See, even I know the lyrics.
Out There Tonight, that was a different one. Yeah, but Private Affairs are it's like 7 or 8 minute long song and has the piano stuff in it. But anyway, and I mentioned the George Winston. I was going to Pachelbel's Canon. It's a variation on that song. It's just beautiful the way he does it. So if you get a chance to listen to that. But other than that, any other closing thoughts?
No, I think we did pretty well. I'm liking this. I like how we picking these songs that really reintroduces us to music that we really love.
Yeah, me too. I neglected to mention there's a whole slew of jazz pianists and others like Herbie Hancock, who I've mentioned, but so many others. And it just, we're kind of sticking with the rock mainly. So, but they deserve as
Yeah,
much
Art Tatum.
praise. Oh yeah, Duke Ellington. I mean,
Dave,
let's not
Dave
forget so
Brubeck.
big. Oh yeah, Dave Brubeck. I had a list here of those I was going to mention, but I'll spare you guys. But yeah, I love it. We'll see if we want to do, if we're going to cover all the parts of a band. I'm sure we could come up with drummers and bass players.
Yeah.
But we'll see what's next. We have a few ideas. So until then, excuse me. Until then, take care.